can't stand and say that we want to honor the dreams of Dr. King if we can't say that the laws that have been written in this Capitol are inherently racist and built on white supremacy. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, members. It's an honor to be here with you all, and I greatly appreciate all of your words to honor the legacy of Dr. King. I'm going to read a quote from Dr. King that most folks don't quote in this chamber. He says, why is equality so studiously avoided? Why does white America delude itself, and how does it rationalize the evil that it retains? The majority of white Americans consider themselves sincerely committed to justice for the Negro. They believe that American society is essentially hospitable to fair play and to steady growth toward a middle-class utopia embodying racial harmony. But unfortunately, this is a fantasy of deception and comfortable vanity. Members, in order for us to truly root out inequality, we must get uncomfortable. We must release this vanity that we don't see in color and acknowledge that we and society, in fact, does. I don't want you not to see that I am a Black woman because my mother fought for the ability for me to stand here and proudly proclaim it so. We must root out white supremacy in this nation, and as legislators, it is our job to start by legislating for equality. Just this summer, we sat in this chamber and watched as protests crying for equality for Black lives rang out not only in Denver, but across the country. Protests that called for justice and just the ability to live as Black people in this society. Justice for Elijah McClain, justice for Breonna Taylor, justice for George Floyd. The images that we saw of protesters just saying that Black Lives Matter, who were met with rubber bullets and jeers and sneers, those images remind me of the images that we saw of Dr. King and Congressman Lewis, who were faced by dogs and water cannons, beaten by members of their community, members of our America, for simply saying that we matter, that we deserve the right as Black folks to vote and to live in an equal society. We were simply asking for justice as they have been asking for justice, as my ancestors have been asking for justice. We continue that ask. And in the moment when I, standing with the Honorable Jonathan Singer, was shot at by those who wished to spark racial divisions, I stood there because I knew that my ancestors, my grandparents, fought for equality so that we had the right to say that, yes, in fact, that Black lives do matter and we will not be silenced. I will say that we as a legislative body came together and answered those calls for justice. We stepped away from our aisles and from the D and the R behind our name. We fought and we worked hard to pass Law Enforcement Accountability, Senate Bill 217. And even members who didn't vote for it, you all stood up and helped make the bill better. And I want to thank you for your involvement. And I want to thank my side of the aisle for standing so uncomfortably in the racial divisions that were dividing our nation and saying that we're going to do something about this. You see, Dr. King was a criminal. Dr. King was arrested. He was vilified. And he was assassinated for saying that Black lives do matter as much as everyone else's. We cannot stand and say that we stand for equality if we roll our eyes and turn our backs every time someone comes down to this well and speaks of inequality and race and justice. Every time someone says that this country has disproportionately harmed Black people. We can't stand and say that we want to honor the dreams of Dr. King if we can't say that the laws that have been written in this Capitol are inherently racist and built on white supremacy. But we also can't stand and say that we support his legacy if we don't stand up and say, I can fix it. I have the power to bring forward a bill that will address inequality in whichever way you like. And I will tell you that your efforts will be met with open arms, open ears, and open hearts from members of the Black Caucus, and from myself particularly. I want to be clear that we are not dividing ourselves as a nation by talking about Black lives. We as Black people are not dividing or being divisive by talking about our experience as Black people. White supremacy has done that for us. You know, I echo the words of my colleagues, Representative Jackson, in saying that I'm tired. I'm tired of carrying this burden as a Black woman and watching as people go on about their lives and don't acknowledge the injustice and inequalities that are happening right here in Colorado, in this country, and even in this chamber. I'm tired of waking up after another sleepless night, knowing that there is a state trooper parked in front of my house because I am receiving death threats. Because I choose to speak up and stand up for equality. I'm tired of it. So how do we continue in this fight? Why do I keep doing what I do? Why do I encourage Representative Bacon to run for office and sit next to Representative Exum and say, go and speak your truth? Because it matters. You know, I can't speak about justice and Dr. King and moving forward as a country when I know we're not as far as some folks would like to delude themselves into thinking, without acknowledging the words of my colleague this morning, Representative Sandridge. Representative Sandridge, we have gone on a journey together. And maybe you've always been this way, but I have seen your heart recently. And I have seen it shown up not only in your words, but in your actions and your deeds. I'm honored to stand here with you. I'm honored to be in this fight with you. And I'm honored to learn from you. Thank you for stepping up for me. Thank you. Excuse me. This country wants to continue to oppress us, but we stand even when we shake, because we know that our kids deserve better, that our families deserve better. And even as white supremacists storm the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., where my best friend is crowded under a desk, Congressman Joe Neguse, and there is a noose hanging outside of his workplace ready to hang him, we continue to fight for equality. And even as the first woman of color, Black and Indian woman, ascends onto the White House and into the White House, we ignore the fact that it is enshrouded in hate and threats, and we cannot even celebrate her inauguration together.
You have less than 1 minute, Representative Herring.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. But we will continue to fight. We will continue to fight for justice. We will continue to honor Dr. King. We will continue to honor Representative Wilma Webb, who fought for this holiday, also under threat, for many years. And we will continue to, yes, extend that olive branch to our colleagues and our friends who are not Black who have chosen not to delude themselves anymore into this false reality that racial justice has already happened, but instead say, what can I do to make it better? Thank you for the work that we are about to go into as a General Assembly and legislative body. Thank you for addressing these issues. And please reach out if you have any questions. You don't stand in my shoes. You cannot stand in my shoes. But I do hope that you can listen and learn and that we can grow together and figure out how we as a nation can come united and address the evil that is white supremacy and racial injustice. Thank you.